pursue her dreams in Bollywood. He grabbed a knife from the kitchen and stabbed Neeraj into 300 small pieces and burned all those body parts. Clean up the crime scene. Imagine going into your friend's apartment just to help them settle in and then just vanishing in thin air. This story is just about that. Welcome to Welted Marigold, where we share dark and mysterious stories from South Asia and beyond. I'm your storyteller, and today's story is about Neeraj Grover. Neeraj Grover was young, ambitious, living out his life in the big city Mumbai. He was a creative director at Synergy Ad Labs and only 26 years old when his life was taken away. He was charismatic and well-liked and described by family and friends as someone who's a go-getter. This should really tell you about the kind of person that Neeraj was. Someone who really worked hard for his dreams. He was born in Kanpur on February 23rd, 1982. After completing his schooling in Kanpur, he took that leap of faith and took that bold, courageous decision to move to a much bigger city, to New Delhi, to pursue his higher studies. He got enrolled at the Ambica University in a Bachelor of Mass Communication program. After graduating from there, he then moved to Mumbai to really pursue his dreams in the media industry. And by all accounts, he was doing really well for himself. Through years of hard work, he had established himself in the media industry. And despite his success, he was not the kind of guy to shy away from helping out his friends, especially when it concerned work. And in 2008, he was helping out a friend, a struggling actress, Susairaj. Maria was born and raised in Mysore. She then moved to Bangalore to pursue her dreams in Sandalwood. Sandalwood, for those of you who don't know, is the Kannada film industry. In Sandalwood, Maria even worked in a couple of movies which weren't really big commercial successes, but movies that she was able to grab onto the lead roles. So these movies were Shoot and Okay Star Okay. But Maria's dreams were bigger. She really wanted to do something much bigger than what Sandalwood had to offer. And that is what made her move to Mumbai, to pursue her dreams in Bollywood, a much bigger industry than Sandalwood. And it is here in Mumbai that Neeraj and Maria met and became friends. Neeraj was just being himself, kind and helpful towards a newcomer who was trying to navigate an industry that he had already established himself in. Date 7th May 2008, a date that everything changed for Neeraj, Maria, and a third person that will enter the story. Now on to evening of April 6th, 2008. This is when Neeraj went in the evening to help Maria settle into her new apartment. Now this was not something out of the ordinary. Neeraj was known to be a kind and helpful person who would go out of his way to help his friend. And that's exactly what he was doing by going to her apartment to help her settle in. Little did anyone know, leave alone Neeraj, that this would be the very last night that anybody would see Neeraj alive. Now something about Neeraj is that he was a very responsible person. Despite living so far away from his family, who lived in Kanpur, he was in constant touch with them. He spoke to them every day. And the next day, after Neeraj had gone to help Maria in her home, when he did not pick up any calls and he did not call his parents obviously became very concerned, because this was very out of character for him. So after 24 hours of not being able to get a hold of their son, Neeraj Grover, Neeraj's dad, flew down from Kanpur all the way to Mumbai to file a missing persons complaint. In the complaint that Neeraj's father filed, he also mentioned that he was suspicious about Maria, Neeraj's friend, in his disappearance. Police started their investigation. They started looking at Neeraj's phone calls, his last known location, where his phone had last pinged, and what they found was all of this information was leading them to Maria's apartment. When the police started questioning Maria, at first she was very calm and composed, and she mentioned that though Neeraj had come to visit her that evening, he did not stay back. He actually had left her apartment, so she had no idea about his whereabouts. But her story had many holes. For starters, they did not find a footage of Neeraj leaving her building. The security camera was able to capture him coming inside the building and into her apartment, but there was no footage to be found of him leaving her apartment building. Second was when the police started taking a closer look into the apartment. In the apartment's bathroom, they found some bloodstains, which had been cleaned up but not cleaned up too well because they still existed. Third was a lingering bird smell that the police observed. All of these suggested that some foul play had happened within that apartment. Also, as the days went on, Maria became visibly nervous, and her story also became inconsistent. Now let's talk about the third person in the story. This is the person that I mentioned about briefly in the beginning of the episode. The third person is Emile Jerome Mathew, Maria's fiancé. Emile Jerome was a lieutenant in the Indian Navy, posted out in Kochi, a city a few hundred miles away from Mumbai. With Maria living in Mumbai and Emile living in Kochi, it was a long-distance relationship that they both had. And Emile was known to be a jealous, highly possessive person in this relationship. Now to summarize the three main characters of our story. 1. Neeraj Grover. 2. Maria Susairaj. 3. Emile Jerome Mathew. Now back to the night of 6th May 2008, when Neeraj was just being a good friend and he had gone to Maria's apartment to help her settle into her new place. That night, Emile and Maria were on the phone for many hours. And it is also said that Maria and Emile ended up in an argument because Emile was suspecting that Maria was having an affair with Neeraj. After a very heated argument with Maria, Emile took the first flight out of Kochi to Mumbai. He didn't even inform his superiors, which is obviously breaking the protocol. From the Mumbai airport, Emile went straight to Maria's apartment. There he found Neeraj, and in a fit of rage, he grabbed a knife from the kitchen and stabbed Neeraj. It was a single fatal blow. Maria, who had experienced this horrifying scene, did not call the police. Instead, she chose to stay there and help Emile clean up the crime scene. They went to a close-by mall and bought a large bag and a hacksaw. They then came back and dismembered Neeraj's body, according to some reports, into 300 small pieces. This was no longer a crime of passion. This was a well-calibrated, calculated, heinous crime. After dismembering the body, they actually put all the body parts into that large bag that they had purchased from the nearby mall. They then drove for a few hours to a small town called Manur, where they found a secluded spot and burned all those body parts. After intense police interrogation, Maria finally broke down. She even shared the location of where they had burned Neeraj's body. She led them to it, and the police was able to retrieve some pieces that were charred, burnt, but there. They were able to, through DNA and forensic sciences, confirm that those body parts were in fact Neeraj's. The trial of Maria Susairaj and Emile Jerome Mathew began. During the trial, the defense argued that Emile had killed Neeraj in a fit of rage and that it wasn't premeditated murder. This is a critical distinction in the Indian legal system. They argued that he was guilty of culpable homicide not amounting to murder, a lesser charge that carries the lighter sentence. They also argue that Maria was simply a bystander who was terrified and pressured into helping him cover up the crime. Her lawyers claim she was not an accomplice but a victim of the circumstance. In 2011, the court delivered the verdict. The judge found Emile Jerome Mathew guilty of culpable homicide not amounting to murder and of destroying evidence. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for the killing and 3 years for destroying evidence to be served concurrently. The court found Maria Susairaj guilty only of destroying evidence. She was acquitted of the murder charge. Her sentence was 3 years in prison, which she had already served while awaiting trial. This meant that on the day of the verdict, Maria was a free woman. The verdict was a shock to many people, especially to Neeraj's family. They did not feel that justice was done to them or their son. Maria claiming to be just a bystander. What do you think? What are your thoughts about this case? Let me know in the comments below. Until the next episode, stay kind, stay safe.